What's up, Earth Rockers? It's your boy Shovatar here, come at you again with another commentary about Rondo of Blood, the greatest game ever made. Uh, that's kind of like, that's almost not hyperbole. I'm almost like not kidding when I say that. So last time, it's still going to be Richter, still just going to be talking about our boy Richter Belmont here. Uh, Last time we looked at the normal route, this time it's the alternate route. And I don't think I did a very good job in my last video of explaining how like the routes in this game work, so I'm going to try to explain it again, even though you should see what I mean. Look at that shit, that's so smooth. God, this game is so fucking cool. I love everything about this game. It's fucking rockin' music playing, and like it's all so like responsive, and you could just like, it's so awesome. So the way the route splits work in this game is that there's level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, then level 2 alternate, level 3 alternate, level 4 alternate, and level 5 alternate. So for levels 1, and then the routes reconverge at level 6. So for levels 1 through 4, there are two separate routes in those levels that take you to two separate bosses. And depending on which boss you go to, you'll go to either a normal route map or an alternate route map, and you're not locked to one or the other. Like right now, I'm on level 1 and I'm taking the route to alternate level 2. But if I go to alternate level 2, I could go either to 3 or alternate 3, because there's two routes in alternate 2 as well. So you're not locked to the alternate route once you start on it. However, I'm not going to be doing that for this video. I'm just going to be going through all the alternate levels, showing you all the alternate bosses, since I already did all the normal levels and the normal bosses in the last video. This is not exactly a hard mode. Like it's tough for me to say exactly if I think the alternate route is harder, but I don't know if it's necessarily designed to be, because there are things in both routes definitely that are tricky, and the alternate route I think is a lot easier on Maria, but I'll talk about that when I post my Maria videos. This boss already is a lot harder than the level 1 normal boss, just because its patterns are a lot stranger, or a lot harder to react to, for me at least. But yeah, like I was saying, this video is just going to be all alternate bosses, all alternate levels. You can go back and forth, and that's what I'm going to be showing in some other videos, uncommented videos I'll be posting after this. I'll be showing you like what it would be like if you went 1, then alternate 2, then back to normal 3, then alternate 4, then normal 5, because there are different routes in each of the levels that you can't see if you just watch the only normal route video and only the alternate route video. But I'm not going to be commentating those because, at least I don't think I will. I might change my mind, but I don't think I will, because it's going to be mostly the same levels every time. And I don't think there's necessarily going to be enough that's new to make a whole commentary for each of those videos. And plus, if I did that, I'd be releasing like 8 commentaries, which I do love this game, and I could maybe talk about it for that long, but I think I would end up repeating myself a lot. The alternate route, it's kind of like the Alucard route in Castlevania 3, where I don't think it's really as good as the main route. It's missing a lot of the big highlights of the main route, and it doesn't have much really to make up for it. With a couple like this level, I don't really like this level very much. You might think that's because there's death pits and because there's like platforming, but the platforming in this route level isn't really like, there's not really any platforming. It's just some hazards here and there. It's kind of the appropriate use of death pits, where it's just used to like improve the combat and make the combat more interesting. I don't really like the music for this level either. Which is not usually, the alternate level route has some fucking bangers, which we'll see later on. But for now, it's just gonna be this. What's interesting about the alternate route is, like I said, you can kind of like weave back and forth between the normal and alternate. These guys are pretty tough to fight. These guys are kind of like the Harpies in the Clock Tower in level 7, where they'll like auto-dodge your swings, but you have to like kind of like get them to use their little disengage like jump pack, and then like hit them with something else. Or if you hit them with a falling swing, sometimes they like don't dodge out of the way properly in time, but that's pretty much it for those guys. And plus, if you don't kill them, like sometimes you can just walk forward and like walk past them, and they'll just kind of like fuck around behind you and they won't do anything. So they're not particularly threatening, even though they are difficult to kill. It's not like the Harpies in the Clock Tower. Well, if you don't kill them, they'll just dive bomb you over and over again. So the way to get to the I pick up the holy water here because there are some enemies in little alcoves that are very difficult to hit with anything besides the holy water if you're not playing as Maria. Yeah, it's these guys here. And there I thought I was about to die. I actually am not sure if that would have killed me, because what's interesting about Rondo of Blood is that in a lot of places where there are like pits that look like they might insta-kill you, and would insta-kill you if this was a differently designed Castlevania game that was more annoying, instead they'll send you down to a lower level. So some of these pits that are coming up here, if I fell down, would send me down to a lower level into a pit of water that would kill me, but I think that one back there may not have. Like, I'm going to go down one of these pits to get to the alternate ending to alternate 2. It might seem weird that like I'm calling the ending that keeps you on the alternate route ending, but that's just what it's called. These guys are pretty fun to fight. They're very they're threatening, but they're also manageable, and they're slow enough for you to effectively react to what they do. You're going to be seeing them more later on in the route, and then they're in a context where they're much more dangerous. But here they're just pretty. This is a pretty manageable challenge. I like how they look. I like everything, and I like how the fact that he fucking explodes. That's the other thing about Rondo that I think I didn't mention in my normal route video. I love how when you destroy something, it fucking explodes. I think I complained about Super Castlevania 4 that the impact from Simon's whip felt kind of like insipid, didn't have much impact. Here they really went the other way, and anytime you hit something, it turns into a fucking fireball. This is the worst boss in the game. It's not the worst boss in the game in the sense of its difficulty. It's the worst boss in the game in the sense of it's boring, and it has too much health, and it takes too long to kill. And I may have said before that I don't necessarily think the alternate or normal routes cater more to Maria or Richter in particular. The simple fact of the matter is that Maria is just like better than Richter in every way, but I think that so both routes are easier for her, but I do think that the alternate route is especially easier for Maria than it is for Richter, because this boss is kind of a prime example of it, where you're kind of left with not very many good options to attack it when it's doing like this phase. I guess if I had the axe, then I could do something more. Like if I had the axe instead of the cross. But the axe, I did have an axe at some point. I think I ditched it for the cross against the level 1 boss, and then I never found another one to use. This phase here is very odd too. He's kind of toothless for the rest of the fight once you understand his pattern in that second phase where he's jumping around. This boss is weird because you can stand on top of him, but then he'll also just like walk out from underneath you, so you really can't stand on top of him for very long. I think what you're supposed to do is like jump on top of him, then jump like all the way over him, because it does take him a few seconds to like change direction. If he's charging one direction, there's like a little delay before he goes back in the other direction. There, I didn't really do that. I just brute forced it with an item crash, and that's kind of an example of what I'm talking about, where I love this game. This game's a fucking masterpiece, but item crashes do kind of make you feel like you aren't necessarily being tested very stringently, and they do sort of kind of serve as like a get out of jail free card in situations like that. But to be fair, they do have a fairly stringent, depending on the sub weapon, they do have a fairly demanding heart cost. So that tombstone is really tricky to kill because of how it'll drop like right on top of you if you're not careful. So that's why that bat hit me, because I was busy like thinking about and focusing on the tombstone, because I didn't want to get hit by that. And the bat snuck in a shot. That is one thing that's definitely not different about this game from other Castlevania games. That the bats are pretty chill in Rondo of Blood compared to other Castlevania games, but they are still there. They are still tough to hit. This is pretty cool too. This guy is kind of like, yeah, that's so cool. I don't know, maybe I'm just easily wowed by like well, I'm not really easily wowed by flashy graphics. I don't really think of myself as that kind of person or that kind of like video game player. This game is just fun. This game is just like cool, and it has a nice balance of difficulty that makes it really fun to play. Where I think I've kind of gotten a better handle on what the difference is really between like dying to like platforming challenges and dying to combat challenges, which is that dying to combat you make a lot of mistakes. If you're dying to combat means you make a lot of mistakes. So you feel like you had a lot of opportunities to play better to mitigate them, whereas with platforming you don't. And here's the first of two ladies that Richter rescues on this route. If you're wondering why you would want to do the alternate route, it's so you can get 100% on your save file to get a slightly different and better ending, and so Richter can complete his harem of ladies that he rescues from the evil forces of Dracula. I'm just kidding, of course. Richter is devoted to his lady friend Annette. He's a good Christian man. I'm sure he would never commit adultery. This chick here is a nun, I think. Again, I don't really know what they're saying, but I think she thinks that God sent him there, and he's like, no way, I sent me here, because I'm Richter Belmont, and I'm the biggest badass who ever lived. Richter Belmont, the Vampire Hunter. Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's a vampire hunter, and she's in awe of how awesome he is. This game is funny. I like the 90s anime aesthetic. These guys are pretty tough to fight. The dude who just fucking exploded blood out of his chest with the sombrero. Those guys are actually pretty tricky. You really have to jump way back and give them a lot of respect when you're going to fight them, which is actually why... So if I kept going to the right there's a meat that I could get way back in like an alcove back there. I'm not doing that for two reasons. One reason is that there's another sombrero guy back there. Excuse me, and I don't want to have to fight him. Another reason is that I'm about to get to the boss room, and there's going to be a meet right before the boss. I think that the paths to the alternate bosses, because these are all the alternate bosses that I'm fighting. I think the paths to them are slightly shorter than the paths to the main bosses, with some exceptions. But the trade-off is that I'm fairly sure the alternate bosses are supposed to be more difficult. Although I can't. I'm not. Although. I don't know. It depends on the level. Because this boss here is definitely harder than the Minotaur. Or at least it was for me. Maybe it's supposed to be easier and I'm just stupid. But, this boss is tricky because of that fire attack that he's doing right now, because the fire bounces all over the place and it lingers for a long time. The trick is you just have to be underneath him, because he'll absolutely shit fire all over like one half of the screen, but most of it is not going to get down onto the floor. So that's what you have to do. And then he does this goofy-ass suicide attack. Something that I briefly, like, I was kind of, like, talking out loud and articulating my thoughts on why I love this game so much in the normal route video, and something that I briefly mentioned that I'll state again is that the game is very good at rewarding you for continuous good gameplay. It's not, like, constantly doing like, checks that are where it's, like, your success or failure are completely irrelevant to your previous performance. The game is very much built on rewarding you for, collecting hearts throughout every stage by letting you retain your hearts, by not punishing you with death pits, generally speaking, punishing you with combat challenges, where if you play well, you're rewarded for playing well. Where like your previous good play is like constantly affecting your odds of survival, and if you kill a boss without taking any damage, or then you get an extra life. And that's just another example of that theme. I think that's why I like it so much, because I feel like my skill and my correct decisions are constantly being rewarded. Although this level here, the mountain region, is the worst level in the game, and is kind of an exception for that. And that's partially due to how the level is designed, and partially due to how I'm playing it, because what I'm trying to do here is something that's kind of unusual, where those logs back there in the river, the way you get to the alternate route, which is where I'm ultimately going to go, is to fall down onto those logs and go down like this river route to get to the alternate boss. But I'm going over here because the way that you rescue the second lady in the alternate route is by going this way. And at the time that I was recording this, I didn't really think that I was going to be making my other gameplay videos, where I'd be showing, like, here's the normal path through the alternate level 4, and here's, like, the alternate path through the normal level 3, etc. Which is what this is I'm on right now. I'm on basically the normal path through alternate 4, where if I kept going through that gate, there'd be, like, an Igor gauntlet and then the Dullahan boss. But instead, I'm going to ultimately go down the alternate path. And I'm doing that because I just wanted to showcase as much as I could in 2 videos, because I didn't really think I'd be doing more. And I'm getting, like, this is like 100% basically in 2 videos. So in order to get 100%, I would have to do all the alternate routes and also rescue all the ladies. And so this lady happens to be on the normal route. That's just how it worked out. And the consequence of that is that I spend a lot more time in this level than I otherwise would have. And this lady is, I think she's the innkeeper's daughter. That's what I read somewhere, and I don't know what exactly she's saying. It's kind of probably the same as the last lady's conversation, where she's completely overawed by Richter Belmont's thrumming aura of masculinity, and she's gonna patch up an injury he sustained. I don't know what would have done that to me. I guess a frog. This level is one of the reasons this level is bad or is annoying is because of how many frogs and ravens there are, small enemies that are tough to fight. And what's fun about that little interaction there is that cutscene actually does completely heal you. I don't actually remember if I was hurt when I went into that room, and I don't really want to go back in the video and fuck with my recording and check, but if I was, I'm at full health now, and no matter how hurt you are when you go in there, she'll actually heal you to full, which is really nice. It's really nice of her. It's like she bandages you in the cutscene, and then that actually happens. Isn't that wonderful? So yeah, I did all that shit back there, but now I have to go back here to go down the alternate path, and I barely catch the log before it hits the water. And you have to be standing on the log when you hit the bottom of the screen to get down here, or else you'll just fall straight down through the water and die. And so that's why this level is bad, because it has this area where you get punished with instant death for like dumb shit like that, and also because there's a very tightly timed jump coming up shortly here, where I'm gonna have to jump off this log onto a cliff, but if I jump too early, I'll hit like a bird that's carrying a sign, and if I jump without killing the skeleton behind me, then the skeleton can like fall on top of you as you're making that jump and like knock you around and maybe knock you down to the pit and drop your forward momentum, or just like fuck with you in some other way. So now that I'm past that, this is another tricky section where I have to cross over. So this water is instant death, of course, and there are these bats here. The reason I'm waiting there is because sometimes these bats will spawn right there when you jump across, and I was waiting for them for a different group to spawn because I thought I could jump forward and be safe, but they showed up there anyway. Fortunately, I was in position to evade them, and you'll notice that I picked up a key there from that torch above the floating platform. If you don't pick up that key from that torch, like if somehow you miss the torch or you hit the torch too early and if the key falls in the water, you're fucked, because you can't get through this gate without that key and you can't go back up. So I have to get that key in that specific spot at that specific time in order to continue with the route. So that area is really, really tricky. Fortunately, they take it easy on you by having you fight the easiest boss in the entire game after that little unpleasant gauntlet of bats and water and pits and stress and nonsense. So yeah, this boss is kind of ridiculous. This boss is really easy, and it's also like comical. Did I mention that this game took place in like 1791, and this evil vampire lady is dressed in like a leather fetish bunny suit? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what things were like in 1791. I don't know what they were getting up to in Versailles or wherever. Or no, this is supposed to be in like Transylvania or Austria or whatever. So I don't know what was going on in Prussia in 1791. Maybe they did have acrobatic blue-haired ladies jumping around in leather bunny suits, but I don't think so. Though I'm not a historian. Excuse me. Sorry, I was so excited to talk about this level that I tried to breathe in water, and almost drowned. This level is awesome. You might be wondering how I could possibly say that when it has like water and like insta-kill pits in it, and is like one of the few places in the game that feature those. This level is cool because it has, first of all, the best music I've heard yet in a Castlevania game. I fucking love this song. This song is like, the music that plays in this level is fucking incredible. I absolutely love it. And also because it's interesting. There is platforming in this part, but it's the kind of platforming where there are solutions to it in the vein, like when I talked before about Castlevania games having and like rooms having solutions. This section here with the platform going underneath these things, like I almost never die to this because there are just like first of all it's pretty short, and second of all there are like concrete solutions and answers to getting through that spot. Where like if you stay ahead on that first one, you're in a much better position to like intercept like the bats that come through down there. And it's like there's like good decisions you can make at the start of that section to pretty much always get through it. Like I said, I've almost never died to that. And when I first got to this level, when I first learned this route, I thought for sure that that's where I'd die, like over and over again, when I was doing this run. But the mountain region was a lot trickier to learn. And actually, fun fact, so both this and my normal route Deathless video are on the same save file, and I actually got both of them first try. So technically this is a 100% Deathless run in 2 parts, but technically, because it's on the same save file, although of course I did spend a lot of time practicing between the normal route footage collection and the alternate route footage collection on a different save file to learn it properly. But like I said, just a fun fact. Yeah, this was pretty nerve-wracking, because getting through the mountain region was like the part that I was the most worried about, and so now I feel like I really have a good opportunity that I can't fuck up. And this is the toughest, this is the part I was talking about, these guys are way tougher to fight. And this is so cool that I pulled this off. I don't think I take any damage here, do I? Oh my god, I'm insane! Yeah, I want to kill that guy, because I don't want the meat to despawn before I can get access to it. Yeah, this part is really cool. It's so, like, this is so awesome. And level 5 alternate, that's the other thing about level 5 alternate that I like, is that it starts off with, like, the water and the platforming, but it doesn't go overboard with it. It pretty quickly goes back to, like, standard Rondo of Blood, incredible, great decision game design, which is more of a focus on really tough combat challenges. This part, there's a couple ways to do this. You'll see another way to get through this part when I upload my Maria video, but I won't spoil that for you. A criticism that I've sometimes seen of level 5 alternate is that it is a level cobbled together from previously utilized like tiles and assets. Like, you'll notice this is the same bridge that I was on in level 2 alternate. And then a lot of the water stuff that we were in the first part of the level is from level 5 normal, and then we're gonna get. And then when I was inside the castle, the interior of the castle looked the same as the lead up to level 6. Or I shouldn't say the lead up to level 6. I should say the part of level 6 before the boss rush. And then this part looked like anything. It was kind of like level 3 normal, maybe. I don't know. But people criticize the way this level looks. And it is true, this level doesn't really have much of an identity of its own, but it's kind of like how it kind of feels like it's supposed to be a. I almost shit my pants there. Yeah, the green hair, what color is that? The non-blue skinned Medusa heads will turn you to stone, so that could have been really bad. You might wonder why I didn't throw axes up at those spear guys up there. It's because if your axe hits their spears, it doesn't do anything, and it's kind of hard to get the timing down to hit them properly when their spears aren't in the way, and I just wanted to focus more on dealing with the Medusa heads and getting the timing down for those guys, so I didn't want to bother. It would have taken too long, and it would have been too distracting, and I wanted to focus instead on the Medusa heads. But level 5 alternate just kind of feels like a compilation of non-boss combat challenges, because you'll notice there is no boss at the end of that, and I think that's actually fine. Normally I love the boss fights in this game, so I would consider not having a boss fight at the end of that to be disappointing, but at the time I was delirious with gratitude because that level is really, really hard, and I was thinking, oh my god, am I gonna have to fight the fucking Grim Reaper at the end of all that shit? But no, they actually don't. They don't make you fight any bosses at the end of it, which is only acceptable due to how viciously the rest of that level is designed. And now we're at the point where the routes have reconvened, and that is one thing that I will say about this game's route split is that it does stop being relevant after the split is over. It's not like Castlevania 3 where I'm coming into this with a different companion or with any different capabilities. No, 6 through 8 are all going to be exactly the same as they were before. Which I don't have a problem with, because this vampire bat boss actually started giving me a lot of trouble sometime around the time that I was not here, but when I was collecting footage for the hybrid routes, where I was going the hybrid route videos I'm going to post are when I go like normal 2, alternate 3, normal 4, alternate 5, just to like show you the alternate routes. When I was collecting that footage, all of a sudden that vampire bat boss started giving me serious problems, and it's I like thought I had him figured out, but I didn't. It's very strange. There I did fine, but here Medusa is kind of kicking the shit out of me. This is really not the amount of damage that I want to be taking on this boss, because this boss rush is sort of like a warm-up before you get to the fight with Shaft, who's the magician guy. Yes, his name is apparently actually Shaft. I thought that was a joke when I first heard it, but that's what it is. And he's really the toughest part of the whole thing, and there's like some of his attacks that I never really learned how to properly dodge. This mummy guy, I went through a lot of different iterations of how to fight this mummy guy, and I think the reason that I had so much trouble is because a lot of how effective the way that you deal with him has to do with the minutia of when you throw the Bible as you're jumping up onto those rocks, because even the slightest difference in timing can mean that the Bible's final like spiral arcs don't go where they're supposed to. Because if you throw it at exactly the right timing, you'll completely eradicate all of his little like bandage projectiles, and you can just like walk right up to him and keep hitting him. But if you don't get it right, even like a slight deviations in timing can mean that it does almost nothing. And this is really bad, by the way, the situation that I'm in right now, going into the Shaft fight like probably 2 hits away from death. This is really not what I want. And it's mostly because of the bad Medusa fight, because Medusa jumped over my head when I wasn't expecting it to, and because the Bible didn't quite hit the little snake projectiles she shot out, and then I didn't play the mummy fight very well, and then I didn't play the Frankenstein fight perfectly. So hey, look at that! I'm in a perilous situation because my previous mistakes are affecting my gameplay. What do you know? And I barely managed to escape these lightning orbs, which is the thing about this fight that makes it hard, because the fire orbs and these things, generally speaking, there's like strategies to evade them, but for the lightning orbs, I never really figured out a concrete, consistent way of dealing with them. And I was going to say something about the Bible, which is that so the Bible is the best sub-weapon in the game, right? And it's pretty much overpowered, I would say. But that is kind of the balancing factor, is that it's kind of like a lightning, Cypher's lightning, where you don't. Its positioning is kind of wonky, and like in the mummy, like I was thinking about this because of the mummy fight, where like this, like just throwing it at like a slightly different time can completely change the actual impact that it has on the fight. So it is the best sub weapon in the game, but I still think it's ultimately fine, because like 3 hearts per usage means you have to plan around using it a lot, and because it's not like a perfectly consistent aura of damage around you that just always destroys everything, because things can slip through sometimes. Like, I'm sure if you watch all the Shaft fights that I do as Richter, you'll see a couple of times where the fire orbs like just don't fucking get hit by the Bible where they're supposed to. I know it's definitely happened to me on attempts before, so it's not quite the get out of jail free card, the 100% consistent get out of jail free card that it appears to be. I am fucking like, okay, that was insane. That like double backwards mid-air whip shot that I did on that bat was kind of insane. And here am I gonna? Okay, no, I haven't quite lost control of the situation here. Oh yeah, I kind of have. Yeah, here I'm kind of panicking. I think if I was a little bit more clear-headed, I probably could have I would have tried to like shoot and like work an axe up underneath that sword bat that I was trying to like whip at, but instead I was thinking, holy fuck, I almost died in 5 alternate. I almost died fighting Shaft. I'm like totally rattled. I just used an item crash to kill like water skulls. That's kind of how freaked out I am right now, and that's why I'm not really playing it excellently here. But fortunately, because the challenge in this game is fair, the fact that I made minute positioning errors did not instantly kill me. Instead, I have an opportunity to compensate for those errors by playing well both in the past and in the future. So what do you know? And I don't need the key there because I already rescued Annette from the little prison. Once you've already rescued a lady in a save file, you don't have to rescue them again. And if you go into their cells, there's just going to be like a bunch of torches with like points, I think, and maybe some hearts. I know that if you go into a net cell when she's not there, it's a bunch of torches with points. That's I'm assuming is what's there. And then actually, if you go to the innkeeper's daughter's cell and she's not there, there's actually a bunch of torches with sub weapons. So there's different things in different cells. I don't know what's in all of them because I didn't really look at all of them, but that's the case. The music here is fucking awesome too. I love the level 7 music. I love the entire back half of this game. I love the first part. I mean, well, I think that it's in the first half of the game is where you get some of like the levels that aren't necessarily spectacular, or like mountain region levels that hinge on bad. I would say the mountain region is probably I'll just say bad is the only bad level in the game. But then the back half is just like pure fucking badassery until the game's ending. And I don't usually say words like badassery. I don't usually like to run the risk of making myself sound like a Redditor. So the reason that I didn't get those 5 hearts up there until after that first green guy was dead is because if you walk over to the left there to get those 5 hearts, it'll like activate his little skeleton dog and it'll activate him, and he'll start like strafing back and forth towards the right side of the screen, and he can, if you let him do that for too long, he'll like corner you up against the wall. And the way that you fight these guys is by having enough room to move backwards. So if one of these guys somehow corners you, then you're completely fucked, because you can kind of make them move back, but sometimes they don't move back as much as you'd like them to, and it's just much, much nicer to be able to have plenty of space behind you to work with. This game is so fucking cool, man. I love this. These little seating areas are also funny to me. I like the framed picture of the skeleton doing like a funny pose, because it's like there's always a thing about Dracula's castles that it's like who is hanging out down here, like drinking this wine and admiring like the like looking in these mirrors. Can't vampires not see themselves in mirrors? Maybe it's for the knights. Maybe it's for the knights to like make sure that like the plumes on their helmets look nice, and that their shoulder armor is sufficiently large. Those guys remind me of World of Warcraft characters. A lot of things remind me of World of Warcraft, apparently. And yeah, like this is the perfect example of like just how this game is good. Like this part right here with the okay, if I was playing Castlevania 3 or Castlevania 4 or like any other Castlevania game, I'd be dead right now. Although to be fair, if I was playing a game where where fucking up this jump caused instant death, I probably wouldn't be doing this shit over and over again. What I'm trying to do is like barely catch the edge of the invisible platform that's on top of these rounded objects, but I'm just kind of like fucked up the timing a bunch. But because I don't instantly die, I have the luxury of trying to go for something that looks cool and like giving it a shot and seeing if it works. I don't know if I had the time to mention all this, to like explain this, but like all those in the normal video, those rocks there, those tiles with like the symbols on them, you can get different sub-weapons to break those open, to get like other sub-weapons to break open the other ones, but the end reward for all that is a stopwatch, and I don't really need or want a stopwatch to fight this guy. I don't even know if a stopwatch would work. This doesn't seem like the kind of game where like you'd be able to stopwatch spam stunlock bosses, and I think that in this game particularly, where the boss fights are sort of like the whole point and are sort of most of the whole challenge, I think that stopwatch spamming to cheese them is kind of really more problematic than it is in a game like Castlevania 1 or Castlevania 3, where challenge comes more from other avenues. And something like using the holy water for the Grim Reaper, the stopwatch for the Medusa head is more of an issue of more of a challenge of routing. This game is not really that much routing. It's just sort of like get the Bible and hold on to it for the second half, basically. And because you can pick up sub-weapons if you accidentally drop them, which is also a fucking awesome addition to the game, by the way. It gives you so much more control over what's going on. You don't have to worry about your routing getting fucked up because you accidentally killed something and then walked forward too fast, or you killed something too close to you and it dropped a sub-weapon like on top of you. As much as I love Castlevania 3, I do think this game is definitely better than that, like no question. And that's one of the things that makes it better, is that it doesn't you don't get fucked over by RNG pretty much in any way. And now we are at the Dracula fight again. And something that I briefly stated in the normal route video that I think the Dracula fight is too easy, but I didn't really get a chance to emphasize something that I should have, which is that you beat this guy by backflipping over his fireballs. Something that I've said in previous commentaries is that the best way to defeat a boss should be like an exciting way to defeat the boss, and this is like exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe there's another way to beat this guy that like I don't know about, but the way that I found out first, the way that it was like the easiest for me to execute the most consistently, the way that worked the best, was like backflipping over his fireballs, and it's so cool to me that that's the case. That like you like throw the cross and then fucking backflip. Like they give you this movement ability, right? And then it turns out that it's like fucking super useful. It's not just like a gimmick. It's not just something that they put in just because they thought it was impressive. It's like actually organically useful in the gameplay. Isn't that fucking amazing? And you'll notice there that I'm trying to get a certain distance from Dracula, not just so that I'm sure that I have enough time to backflip over his firewalls, but also so that the cross will hit him twice, because it will like the cross in Rondo of Blood like stop it like when it stops swinging, its hitbox is like still active. So I want it to like stop moving right at his head, so it'll like keep spinning and hit him again. That's what's going on there. And look at this, Jesus Christ on the cross, full in the frame. That's how you know this is a Japanese game, that this hasn't been localized, because you can see the King of Kings himself up on the cross. Do I get the... I don't think I get another cool action shot here, but that's okay. I was just happy that this was over. Oh, it looks like I'm standing on top of his head. That's even cooler. I was just so happy that I got this done, because I couldn't believe that I barely jumped on that log in the mountain region, and then I got through like the mountain region fine, and then like I was afraid I was going to die on 5 alternate, and then I thought I was going to die on shaft, but everything worked out. I never lost my faith. I made it to the end. I had to make sure that I got those ladies safely out of I guess wherever they were. I don't really know what the logistics are of Richter like rescuing those ladies, because especially with the nun in level 3 alternate, it seems like he just like left her there. But I guess they got out eventually, because you do kill everything, and in this game, enemies don't respawn when you leave the screen. So presumably all those like zombies and bats that Richter killed in the cemetery before he rescued that lady, they're all still dead. It's not like she's going to come back out of the stairs and find they've all respawned. No, they actually die for good. Which, that alone obviously makes Richter the most powerful of all the Belmonts. The fact that he can use item crashes and the fact that he has the ability to actually permanently kill things. Dracula's on fire again. I think Dracula's giving another one of his speeches to Richter where he says, oh, I'm here because human desires brought me here. Evil human desires. And I guess he's talking about Shaft, because I think Shaft is the guy who brought it back. But that's not really a human desire. That's more like one psychopath desire. To see a giant castle in the middle of Transylvania, and to see a bunch of buildings in a village get set on fire and trampled by giant men. And for maidens to be kidnapped. Shaft really reminds me of Aghanim from Link to the Past. I think he kind of has the same color scheme, doesn't he? Doesn't Aghanim kind of have like a green and purple thing going on? Maybe I'm misremembering. And then Dracula, of course, is exactly like Ganondorf, right down to him having a demonic monster form, and he keeps coming back, and he keeps getting killed by somebody with the same name. That name being Belmont. And again, even though I got 100% on the save file, mysteriously, the castle does not collapse. That's very strange. It's very mysterious. Again, I mentioned that in the last video. I'm going to mention that again. Keep that in mind. The castle still has not collapsed. But the good news is, I have a little montage here of Richter and all of his lady friends. And the best news of all is that the 2 horses from the chariot and the prologue with Death, they apparently survived the whole time and were right back there waiting for Richter at level 1 after he rescued all these ladies. So he can just bring them all back to the chariot and bring them all the way back home. So not only does... This is how great of a guy Richter is. Not only does he save all the ladies that Dracula kidnapped, and kill Dracula, and kill Dracula's henchmen twice, he also rescues the horses. He left the horses enough horse food so that they could survive, waiting there in that burning village the whole time, while Richter went and did all that shit and then came back for them. That's what kind of a guy he is. I mean, that is some impressive shit. And it shows more than just power, it shows thoughtfulness. You know? He's a great guy. And this is a great fucking game. So like I said, I'm going to have 2 more videos after this that are going to be uncommentated, showing you some alternate routes through other levels. I might change my mind and decide to commentate on them, but maybe not, because I think I will really end up just not having that much to say, and I will just mostly end up repeating myself. Because unlike Castlevania 4, where I could take like a relish in just like slamming criticism on it, I fucking love this game. Like everything I have to say about this game would be positive. So maybe I don't find as much joy in doling out nothing but glowing praise um, as opposed to vicious criticism, or maybe I just don't want to like talk about the same game for 8 videos because unlike Castlevania 3, there's no like hard mode, there's no different companion characters. There is different characters, so I'll be making videos for different characters, but there's no like hard mode for me to talk about that like changes the game. It's just like slightly different endings to the same stuff, and that's the end of the video. Hope you guys all enjoyed. I love you all. This game is fucking awesome.